Hello and welcome to our Wheel of Time stream. I'm very excited to get to talk about this one. It's going to be an interesting discussion. It seems as though the bot is not working as usual. Lovely. But we will not let us deter us, but rather press forward. Anyway, first off, in terms of entrances, we must bring on our resident loquacious doctor and magician. Please welcome Dr. Crow.
Hello! How is everybody doing today?
Doing great. And we also have Blue.
Hello.
Hi. And we also have another guest here with us to discuss the Wheel of Time, a longtime reader. Please welcome our good friend Carl Saylor.
I just posted a link to the stream in a Wheel of Time post-by-post RP group, so maybe we'll see some more people coming in from that.
Thank you. Let me quickly put in the link into our Discord and a couple of others just so we can. Anyway, so Path of Daggers is an interesting book, to say the least. So I actually looked it up on the Wheel of Time wiki of what the percentage is. Who do you think, by page per chapter percentage, has the most page time in this book?
It's Matt.
Isn't this the one where he's recuperating from the golem attack?
He's not even in this book.
He's not even in it. It's really trolly because the end of the last book, you're like, oh no, is Matt alive? And then this book, guess we don't get to find out.
He's mentioned in
Not in
passing, and that's it.
See, at least when Perion was on vacation, he'd just gotten married, so we were giving him some time off. But this,
actually, it's actually worse. You got a building fell on him.
Right. It was like, well, all right.
And we know he's supposed to marry the Daughter of the Nine Moons, and the Shan-Chans are there, and their empress is called Daughter of the Nine Moons. So everybody's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's all coming together. We don't even see him. He's only mentioned in passing.
No.
Also, isn't this? I think I remember hearing somewhere that this is the shortest book in the series in total work.
Second, because New Spring is the shortest.
Yeah, you're right.
Spring fits in the proper sequence, but of the main sequence of books, it's the shortest.
Yeah, I believe so.
It was only about,
right.
In terms of Audible books, it was only about 20 hours long. And I remember the first thing I said when I got it is like, wow, this one's short.
Yeah. So the person who has the most page time is actually Elaine.
Interesting.
Yeah, just by virtue of percentage. And I would actually classify most of what happens with her filler.
Yeah. She has one good event to have. She has
percentage of screen time, or specifically percentage of POV chapters.
Percentage of POV chapters.
Okay.
Like, she has 19% of this book. Rand has 13.
Because only two things happened with Elaine.
Hey, girl power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is kind of the first in the kind of the pace crawl it's not a slog, it's a pace crawl. As far as like things go, there are some major events that do happen in this book, but we are getting into the points where it's dramatically slowing down in terms of the pace.
Yeah.
So I decided to put in like all the general impression. What are Blue and Crow, what are your impressions of this book, kind of just as you kind of have gotten out of it?
Meh.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of started with my general impression for this book, just like as an overall feeling about it, was excuse me, where's Matt? But
Yeah.
it's really hard to focus on anything else when one of your main characters is like
The best
disappeared
character.
under somewhat I don't know, questionable circumstances where you're like, oh, okay, well, he's got a building on top of him, but I'm sure he's fine.
He's fine.
He's a main character. He's got that plot armor, but still, you know, you worry about the kid.
Yeah, especially the kid. Where's Tom? Where's Julian? Where's what's his name?
Who's going to be babysitter? Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver. Yeah. Where's that little ugly little brat?
Yeah, little. Yeah, and also like even like
this was the book where I dropped the series the first time, and then I eventually went back and I did a re-listen from the very beginning, and I got through the whole thing. I mean, it was part that the series wasn't complete when I first started, so it just seemed like an endless progression of strange stuff. Oh, and apparently the author is dead. So, I mean,
yeah, it's hard to get into a series when the author died.
And then I said, okay, I'm gonna go listen to what was one I went to the Honorverse, the Honor Harrington series. I got through a few of those, and then I heard or something. Oh, hey, they finished it. Someone actually finished this series, and I came back and I listened to the whole thing. So that was my adventure.
I will say this one didn't actually feel like as much of a slog as I had been led to believe from other people's reactions to it. And I think part of it was the anxiety over for me, having a question that I feel like is going to be answered soon keeps me reading. So the fact that I was like, okay, any chapter now, they're going to tell me what happened to Matt kept me reading, even though that didn't obviously end up happening this book. It was I think I finished this one in 2 days.
Oh, wow. That was impressive.
Yeah. I was also working a lot of overtime because, in preparation for the storm. So it was needed something to do to get me through that. But
it's also kind of short too. The audiobook, 20 hours is not long as far as Jordan videos goes. Well, Jordan books goes.
Yeah, I'll pull it up just so I can have the exact amount of time. No kitty. I'm gonna start trying to play on me. 23 hours and 26 minutes. Which,
that's really short.
Eye of the World, the first book, was only 22 hours. So it's a little bit longer than the first set of books.
Mm-hmm. I think that with this one, there's kind of there's a lot of tangenting. There's quite a bit of tangenting here, which is kind of just slightly world builder syndrome. What do you think, Carl? Would you agree with that? There's a lot of tangenting.
Well, as a recovering side plot addict myself, it does seem to be in that little area of the series where Robert Jordan did go a little bit overboard on side plots. I mean, right now I'm looking at the brief summary on the Tarvalin library, and apparently there was a side plot with the Black Gotcha Hunters in the White Tower that I do not remember.
Yeah, that's like, I think that's one chapter long.
Yeah,
it takes up a whole chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, and apparently a side effect of the Bowl of the Winds was making the power act weird. I missed that completely.
Yeah. Yeah, or even like I was thinking, I didn't know that it was. I thought that it was the gateway explosion, but that's also a possibility.
It could be a combination of the both of them.
Yeah,
I do vividly remember poor little Fedwin Moore getting a cup of sleep at the end. That was tragic.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, I guess.
This is probably where the all the side plots start to. We start seeing a little bit of a pile up. Not as bad as Crossroads of Twilight, but he is starting to slow down the pace.
This is where the players have found all the side quests and are doing that instead of continuing the main plot.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, there was an urgent drop of DLC, and now they have to go do all the side quests.
Love Sim Rome got finished before you could finish it. New Vegas.
Yeah.
You're doing a completionist run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you gotta get the good ending.
It's even like the DLC. It's even like the NPCs are now like are now being picked up by characters in the party.
Kind of fill out the party roster.
And of course, lest we forget, this was some time before Jordan was diagnosed with that rare blood condition. So he thought he still had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
I know.
I'd love to like. I think that one of these days I'd love to take a look at some of Robert Jordan's some of his interviews. I think that might be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Theoryland page that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was one interview. One question he was asked where he was asked if you fired balefire into a gateway and it came out behind you and you were able to balefire yourself, would you be removed from the pattern, or would you be removed from the pattern before you did the balefire, and thus you wouldn't have actually balefired yourself, so you wouldn't actually be? How would that work? And his response was, "Young lady, you have entirely too much time on your hands. Please go have a passionate love affair." Or something to that effect.
Wow.
That is one of those weird questions where you clearly have thought way too much into this.
Yeah. I've heard this story too. Isn't the best part the fact that this lady actually did get married and have kids because of that, and actually, and like she like went like she came into the signing of one of the Sanderson books and told Sanderson, I actually asked him a really weird question about balefire, and she said, go have a passionate love affair or something. And yeah, I'm happily married with a kid, and I'm very happy to be able to finish this series that I love as well.
It sounds like one of those weird physics paradoxes. Like if you threw a baseball off the back of a moving truck that's moving at the same speed that you threw the baseball, would it keep going forward or does it fall straight down? I think we're getting off on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah, no worries. But it is interesting. So the White Tower subplot, we'll get through this very quickly. It seems as though Alviarin is very much stepping up her little machinations here. And it's very interesting to see her kind of assert control over this the White Tower and making Elida squirm.
Yeah.
And even like having Elida beaten, which is kind of like, dang, you're crazy, or at least like she's gone mad with power very clearly.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I've noticed is because Elida has I think it's either this book or the last one, she had a foretelling where she crushed the rebels and brought the White Tower back to whole.
Mm-hmm.
It brought me up the question because I'm rereading through the earlier parts of the series now as I'm waiting to get to the next one and waiting for these streams. One of the books mentioned earlier that everybody who's able to do a foretelling foretells it just slightly different. Like sometimes they talk past tense, sometimes they talk about it as if it was happening right that very instant. So I'm wondering, how does Elida exactly do it? Because it almost seems like because this one and then the one she had in Eye of the World where she was looking at Rand, she tells them from a point of view, like she's looking through somebody else's eyes, seeing everything going down. So it's making me wonder, is she actually seeing what she's going to see in the future, or is she seeing through somebody else?
A very good question. Nobody fully knows. It seems as though foretelling is basically the creator giving an idea of what's going to happen. That seems to be
I don't think we ever got an explanation for how Elida's particular brand of prophecy works. I mean, there's a lot of explanation going into how Min's stuff works, and like certain characters that can see Taviran, like Logain, and I think one of the Rebel Aes Sedai, but we don't really get an explanation for how Elida's prophecy works. So it might just be just there. Or I don't know. I got a copy of the companion. Should I go look it up?
Yeah, go for it. I actually have the companion as well, but yes, totally. That would be great. In terms of, and also we do have the Black Aja hunters enter into the and it seems like they're kind of adding to their group.
Mm-hmm.
But it does so in a weird way. Basically, there are a bunch of basically this one Aes Sedai is a snitch, or at least like she's a busybody who wants to find out why they're sneaking around in rooms, why the Red Sister and the White Sister are sneaking around and then it cuts to black right after all of the other sitters swear on the oath rod, but this sister does not.
She's absolutely vehemently not doing it, almost as if she, like, if she has to tell the truth, she's going to say something really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that means that honest cut to black seems to indicate to me that, yeah, this lady's a dark friend. She knew what everybody was saying, and she was saying the Black Lodge is a myth. There are no dark friend Aes Sedai. And then, well, now it's just like,
why won't you just do this? This isn't wrong in any way.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, in the midst of that, they discovered the rebels.
Research jaunt. Apparently, Elida's foretelling is a talent. It is specifically a talent. So it's probably related to the power or dreaming, and specifically, it's the same ability as Gitara Moroso, the lady who predicted Rand's birth on Dragonmount and then died in New Spring.
Yeah,
and apparently, the way it works is that whereas like a dreamer, someone who dreams stuff, like what Egwene was doing in, I think, the previous book, she had to interpret some weird visions But in Elida's case, she just knows.
Hmm.
Although what she knows is not as clear.
It's often cryptic, yeah.
Okay.
So, but first we kind of do have the one of the rebel ferrets being ferreted out, so to speak, by Pevara and Ciane, which creates problems because they wanted to bring this person in and gave them an oath of obedience, and now that they've revealed her as a rebel, they leave it on her. So now, and we actually find out a little bit more about how the oath rod works, and the fact that it's actually like you can't. It's basically like mind control almost, where you literally cannot like make it do anything against the oath once you have sworn it.
Right, because they try to get her to say something that she considers to be a lie, and the two like opposing oaths almost kill her.
Yeah, she starts choking.
Yeah.
And unfortunately now the ferrets have been discovered, but they're not outed. So they pretty much like that end of the White Towers little scheme is pretty much now debunked and null and void.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of concludes the story in the White Tower. It's what we do have in the prologue, and then later on, is Varen and Cadswain. Varen and Cadswain are very, very interesting players in this game. We start the prologue with Varen visiting the Aes Sedai who are captured at Dumai's Wells, the Tower Aes Sedai. And she seems to be visiting each of them in turn. And one of the Black Sisters, Katarina Elrudden, it was revealed in 6 that she was black, as was Galena Casban. And she escapes, but for some reason, it seems like our chubby brown sister is trying to get them to think that swearing fealty to the Dragon Reborn is the best idea for them. Any theories on why this could be?
I'm tempted to say that Varen is not Black Aja. It was a point of view for her, which I think it's the second time we've had that.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Yes, because the last time we had it, it was whether she was debating whether or not she should give the notes about the Torion Griol that takes Egwene to Telion Rhaod the first time.
She also had a POV right after Rand was bonded in.
Right. She gets all up on what's her name,
Alana.
Yeah.
Say, you did what?
That was stupid. That was very stupid.
You have basically ruined our chances.
She seems to be very loyal to the laws of the White Tower, and it's that dedication that's kind of making me go, she might not be black, but
at the same time, it certainly puts the Black Sisters in a better position if they do swear to Rand, because obviously being Black Sisters, it doesn't really matter if they swear to him. They don't have the same compulsion to uphold their oaths as the rest of the Aes Sedai have, but they would still get the same relative freedoms compared to what they've got now if they were to swear. So
yeah. So right now it just seems as though they're just being tortured by boredom. Like instead of like the the wise ones like stringing them up and whipping them every day. What they do is make them do useless labor for hours on end, and
they make
usually in embarrassing fashion, just to screw with them, and just make them ashamed.
You have to dig this hole, then fill the hole back up with what you dug out of it, and then
you
do
gotta
it again.
And you gotta do it naked.
I love the IEL.
Yeah. And speaking of the IEL, we finally get the old lady team up in the form of Cadswain and Soralia. And they are kind of talking about how they want to make Rand relearn laughter and tears, because it seems like Rand has basically gone way too far down the road of sociopathy to
He's in his emo phase. He's in his emo phase.
Yeah, it kind of is. Poor guy.
Yeah.
He goes through some terrible things in this book. It's the same phase that apparently when you say "I fear no darkness," you're in, according to Cinematic Venom. That will make sense to nobody but those who have watched the terrible Cinematic Venom Lord of the Rings sucks video. Which most people do not want to do because it's bad. But it seems like this is a pretty genuine partnership. I think that we're definitely going to see Soralia and Cadswain be like actively trying to do this. But how do you think that they are going to do it exactly?
Yeah, I got kind of no clue on that one.
I think they're going to take him back to the Two Rivers or something like that. It's like, go home. You just spend some time at home. You need a vacay. You get 2 weeks paid.
2 weeks paid leave.
2 weeks paid leave, 3 sick days. Take them. We need you to take them before the end of the year, so that way we don't have to pay a fine.
I'm getting 3 weeks paid leave. I've been at my present workplace for 2 years this week, so I'm getting upgraded to 3 weeks a year.
Fancy.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I know. Unions are awesome.
Debatable.
Yeah. Well, so pretty much like very brief, we have this little interaction between Cadswain and Soralia, and it seems like Soralia like actually like legit understands Rand pretty well. It like says, when I want the Lord Dragon to think to do something I want, I make him think I don't want it. Kind of really sneaky reverse psychology.
Briar patching.
Yeah. And that seems to be the main thing here, where and we do see that later with Cadswain is like playing really hard to get with Rand later, but we'll get to that. So the next subplot is the Black Tower. It's very brief, but the Aes Sedai who were sent by Elida finally arrive. And Dr. you had a very, very amusing
I did.
anecdote. Please share that one, because that.
I'm trying to remember exactly what I said. This part of the book reminds me very specifically of a cheap dime store romance novel.
Oh my, you're not wrong, honestly.
Because think about it. This woman comes riding in, and she's from a nobility sort of class, and she thinks she's all this tough stuff. And then her party gets attacked by a group of ruffians, and one of them carries her off, kisses her, stealing their fate away.
Yeah.
The only thing it's missing is that it wasn't pirates who did it.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. That's kind of added to the thing of she has to do what he says, it seems like.
It's almost like a reverse warder situation.
Well, and I'm just making sure I didn't get this from a later book, but we know who it was that she rode off with, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know it was Logan.
We find that out after he kisses her to make her calm down. And he's like, "Wait a minute, you're Logan." He's like, "Oh no."
And the fact that it's a red sister too. Yeah, no, this is going to be very entertaining, I think.
And it's like, I knew Logan was a Chad.
Oh my gosh.
Well, actually, like, he's even more Chad than you think, because one of them says that he got 2.
Yeah, she's his second.
Oh boy. I mean, like, we've been wondering where Logan's been for about 2 books now, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, here he is.
Yeah. And apparently,
you're looking for more Logan, you can always read my fanfic, Logan Days, which goes over all the stuff that he was doing off screen, including a little scene of the an earlier part of that whole incident with the Aes Sedai.
Neat.
He is very good. I have to say that one is. I have to say that what I've read of that, what you've read of that fan fiction is actually very high quality. I have to say.
Thank you.
But that kind of resolves the Black Tower, other than the Black Tower elements with Rand.
Yeah, that solved the White Tower interaction with the Black Tower. And the White Tower got so utterly defeated that they didn't even take a single casualty, from what I understand.
And it wasn't even a battle. They just rode after them on horseback and then kissed them. Like,
love wins.
Yeah, who would have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? The power of love compels you to obey men.
Yes. Women learning their place. That's what that story was.
Nothing problematic at all about this chapter, guys.
Yeah, that was very...
wasn't it blue?
What you're talking about?
Yeah, this is totally #problematic in a lot of ways.
I can't wait to see the shitstorm that happens when this gets adapted.
Oh boy.
It probably will not be as bad as the Jaime Cersei scene in season 4.
Oh, yeah, they actively made that one worse.
Yeah,
in the book she gives in eventually, but in the I mean that's still a conversation to have about coercion. But in the show, she doesn't. She's still saying no when they cut away to the next scene.
It's so
not cool, Jamie.
Yeah, and the weirdest part is the actors were not told to play it as rape, and like Nikolai Coster-Waldau has had like so many questions levied at him, and he's so frustrated because it was just like, I'm really sorry. I understand this is a hot button topic, but we weren't told to play it as rape, even in the direction.
And then, I mean, the actors don't get much of a say in this sort of stuff, so.
Yeah, well, even the director said, like, no, it wasn't meant as rape. It's a weird, complicated relationship, and there's even, like, little bits of blocking here, and here, but they're blink and you miss them. And the fact that she's saying no all the time is really, really, really ewy.
Yeah.
And David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, like, got asked about it at a con, and a lady asked like, "How does this affect the character arcs and stuff?" And it's just this timid college student who really loves the show. And Dave Benioff just gave a rambling answer that said, creatively, it made sense to us. There was it would be something that he would do on the day, even though we weren't there. We were actually playing Words with Friends with a pair of naked extras that day.
God, I can't believe those two frat boys got a hold of that series. I feel bad for you guys who like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Those two frat boys.
It's essentially what they are. They're two rich frats. Just
Unironically, yeah.
essentially, the Game of Thrones TV series had as much nudity in it because they wanted to see ambiguously brown women.
Yep.
Oh God! But let's talk about a good series.
Yeah. So now we kind of get into, I think that Egwene and Rand kind of have the best story, like, across the board, because with Egwene we're actually getting to see some interesting political drama here, where she's clawing her way from the bottom to the top.
It's the wolf of the wolf on White Tower. Yeah, that's what it is.
The wolf in Mirandy.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we have Egwene, Swan, and I put Arengar there as well, since Arengar seems to be doing something. She carries a body at one point, I believe, somewhere. Also, like, she's kind of there whenever anything important is happening, which is very strange for a secretary.
Yeah.
But we do know that she is Arengar based on the fact that, like, she told Delana, and also it's been revealed that Delana is black.
Yes. So she is the dude, one of the Forsworn.
Forsaken, yeah.
Forsaken, yeah. God, I don't even know where Forsworn is from.
Aragon. It's from Aragon.
And giving Egwene headaches for some reason, which I want to see what that eventually leads up to, because right now it's just like, you know, you've got this big bad guy supposedly, and like wringing your hands going wah ha 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 ha, now you have a headache, like, seems kind of small potatoes. So I want to see what the end game of that is.
It does seem as though, I think it's partially because, like, she gets to be next to Egwene and gets to kind of, like, because she's her personal masseuse at this point, like, she's building trust with Egwene for later, and is probably getting information.
Yeah, just like as an attempt to spy on her or whatever.
Yeah, just get close. You can trust me. I'm your friend. I'll help you with all these stress headaches from having to be Armelin. Yeah, that's fine. You just tell me. Tell me all your worries. I'll be your shoulder for you to cry on. I'll give you advice. Yeah, sure. Oh, is that what's going on? Okay. That's rude.
Yeah, we've all had a toxic friend like that.
Mm-hmm. It does seem as though also Egwene's ability to dream has been been compromised as well. Probably because of Arengar. Maybe it's because Arengar is invading her dreams and kind of messing them up so that she isn't able to dream things and possibly, like, see the future or something in the present that's important. Yeah.
Occupation army, like worm tongue. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very much like worm tongue. I think I do think that, like, we can kind of almost, like, there's very little that happens in terms of significant things. The main two things that are significant are Egwene figures out how to manipulate the sitters into allowing her to go to the allow her to go to this meeting with a bunch of Andorran nobility who all are the anti-Elaine faction, or one of the anti-Elaine factions that are kind of rising, that we find out at the end of this book. This is kind of the benign indifference faction as opposed to the actively opposes faction.
Yeah, this is the faction that kind of like, we don't want her on there, but we're not going to stick our necks out there to do anything active about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, Egwene has gained such a massive following of untrained channelers.
Yeah.
I especially like the grandmother one that gets explained briefly.
Yeah.
It's like this 90-year-old woman who's a novice. She's
Yeah.
so used to bossing everybody around because she's the grandmother of her family, like big family too. That even the Aes Sedai are starting to do what she says. It's like, this is
This is kind of funny. I can't remember her name for the life of me. She kind of, since she, I think, I know she actually, like, the interesting thing is, like, her name is actually mentioned in The Great Hunt during Nynaeve's accepted test, which is interesting.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Ooh. There was also another thing that happened in the Great Hunt that I remember. That one of the hunters for the Horn are with this group, aren't they?
Yes.
And they're going to Tarvalin, where the Horn of Valier is.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be interesting if she manages to survive this upcoming battle and get in there and find it.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that there is going to... So, well, let's kind of get to the point where the battle, or at least, like, where this setup is going to happen. Because one thing about this is that's interesting is kind of the fact that this this whole like it's almost like a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to get the Aes Sedai to basically give Egwene emergency powers.
I love democracy.
I love the White Tower. But the thing is, at least the Aes Sedai realize that they have basically voted given Elaine emergency powers.
She pulled a Jar Jar on them.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah.
So who is Egwene's Jar Jar?
I think it's Janya, maybe?
Is Janya Sanche? Not Sanche. Gosh, so many characters, so many places, so many names. They all sound so much alike eventually.
It's a brown sister who... I think it's a brown sister who like talks about I think like she at least keeps her mouth shut, but I think like I don't know if Egwene actually like necessarily does have a like a Jar Jar. She kind of suggests it by herself and then just gets a basic minority in order to basically say, hey, why don't we declare war? And nobody has really read the books.
Yeah. The Gray Sisters and the White Sisters are like, yeah, technically she can do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, because why would Tarvalin ever go to war? What country in the world would ever be stupid enough to try to start a war with Tarvalin?
Yeah.
Order Hawkwing.
Yeah,
evidently the last one.
Yeah, technically, he put them into a standstill. They could not leave their city.
Yeah. Probably because he was king of the planet king of the continent by that point.
Yeah. And I mean, like, they always tried to parade it around. It's like, we beat Arthur Hawkwing. It's like, no, the Aiel beat Arthur Hawkwing. You guys held up in your city and he couldn't get in.
You outlasted Arthur Hawkwing. There's a world of difference.
Yeah.
But in this case, kind of, Egwene manages to kind of finagle her ability, and then like when Lilade tries to say, "Oh, daughter, sweet child, what are you going to do?" And then Egwene just calmly like tells her to sit down.
I am Armelin.
I am the Amerlin. You are a sitter. I will not take this BS anymore.
I trained with the Aiel wise ones.
You are small potatoes now.
I just love it. Egwene is such a badass.
Yeah, I think that this is an excellent example of like a female character who is really powerful, but is still extreme. Who like still seems to have like vulnerabilities and such.
Oh, yeah.
But she just has such. I think that like she like her bits about like wanting to like be her own person and not just be like another Amerlin that has appeared, another Amerlin,
Just another name on a list.
Yeah.
She's going to carve her destiny out in the stones of the White Tower itself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because Swan keeps comparing her to Amerlins from the past, saying you could be like this one, or like this one, or like this one. She's like, I will be me.
Yep.
Very Disney song of you. I approve.
Honestly, I think that's
She's
actually.
gonna get an I want number.
I want more than this. I said, die life.
We're gonna at some point we are gonna have to put together a Wheel of Time the musical.
Oh, I have a song for this
Absolutely.
later on. I'm working on a song on something that happens in this book.
Oh,
Well, we'll keep an eye on that.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we will. But yeah, pretty much Egwene's story ends in the epilogue where she goes to the
She travels to Tarvalin itself.
Yep, and says, "Well, time to start." I think it's Sharina Malloy. Sharina Malloy is the grandma. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have the Bowl of the Winds crew, i.e., the thing that takes the most pieces of this book.
It gets used once, and it's just like, meh.
Yeah.
right. We spent how many books looking for this thing, and then like a chapter using it.
I always do appreciate the a focus on environmental effects. The world is as much a character as anyone else, but this is kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah.
So, one of the benefits of going back and reading some of the old books is that in the second book, the prologue, we get a scene of a bunch of dark friends being summoned by a Shamael. And the one called, I forget his name, but he's the white cloak that we're getting the POV from, is examining all the other hidden dark friends based on what he could tell based on like clothing they're wearing underneath their robes. Cat, please don't walk next to my microphone. I'm in the middle of a stream. One of the people is a sea folk. And these dark friends have a tendency to just pop up in places because they've been popping up all over the place. And earlier in this, I think in the last book or this one, Shamael's plans, even though he's dead, are still going forward in effect. Like he almost plotted to keep working even if he died. Which is something I really love about that villain. That's why he's my favorite villain in the series. He's just like, he's had 3,000 years to plan, and he's used every moment of it, it seems like. So, and now, like, there's this whole weird thing going on in the area where they use the Bowl of the Winds, where channeling isn't working correctly. And there was this weird thing where, like, the male half of the source, Sidene and Sidar, are being used through the bowl to fix all the weather. Even though the Dark One's touch has been, like, making it perpetual summer. And now it's, like, smack dab winter, which that's going to cause a lot of problems to suddenly go from heat to snow.
Yeah. We also
last week told us all that, I think.
Yeah, another thing that we do see also in this is the fact that what is it? The fact that, like, we have Moradin, who seems to be someone important. Not sure exactly who. But he seems pretty important.
Moradin got named dropped in Eye of the World. He was one of the false dragons. Or maybe it was somebody with a similar name.
I think it was someone with a similar name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't those sorts of things like that. But I just wonder who in the world this Morden guy is, because I'm starting to think maybe he is a Shyamalan.
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 That really is terrifying.
That he is oh my goodness, he's secretly M. Night Shyamalan is somewhat somehow stuck into real time.
What a twist!
What a twist! Would you like to see my face? What a twist!
Here's a glass of water. Would you like to talk to this plastic tree?
Can you say I'm talking to a plant in your loyal voice, Dunn?
What?
I don't know why I'm talking to a plant.
I don't know why I'm talking to a plant. I am.
I don't know why I'm talking to a plant.
Happening. Just no loyaling. Just, oh God. That's probably going to follow me around for a while now.
Well, Dr. Crow, you must understand that when one unleashes the loyal, one can never put him back in the cage.
No, anyway.
Oh boy.
So this is kind of this part of the book kind of sets up the part of the book where pretty much it's just travel.
And then they went for a walk.
Kind of, yeah. And it's interesting that they decided to do it like this because, well, interesting, like our friend Jordan, it's interesting because it's basically this takes up the majority of the book, which is interesting because we have basically this long road trip where first where it starts off with them using the Bowl of the Winds and the weather gets shifted and Avienda undoes a gateway and that ends up being used in a couple scenes later by Elaine when the Shanshan attack. And we saw the Shanshan attack in the middle of the previous at the very end of the previous book is where Matt got the building dropped on his head.
Yeah.
But then they are forced to leave.
Because the Shanshan saw the massive pillar channel.
Yeah.
It was like, that's interesting. We probably should go investigate that.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's an interesting it's now kind of getting to be the point where it's really getting interesting because we have this fight that happens, and I do love Avienda's little. If you want to take me, come and dance with me.
Fireball, 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 fireball.
I think that part's excellent. But then Elaine undoes the gateway so that traveling is not given to the Shanshan, which good for her. And she ends up detonating a bomb.
She essentially detonated a small nuke.
Yeah. It's very much a small nuke. And it like did quite a bit of damage, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't and it like does a lot of damage to the Shanshan.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
it
no
vaporized like all but one of them, I think.
Yeah, but now there's kind of no way of replicating it. Since it would, if you want to undo a gateway, it could possibly like kill or sever you. So we do have a a lot of things moving around at this point. But then the pace goes comes to a screeching halt a little bit with the story, where it's basically this faction doesn't like each other, or this faction is not getting along, or this faction's not getting along, and it just keeps going and going and going.
A bunch of grown women going, are we there yet?
Right. It is funny to me that I feel like so many of the parts of these books that feel slow can essentially be like boiled down to getting way too in depth in the cat fighting. It's like that's how it felt when we were following the girls through the circus and stuff like that too.
I'm gonna join the circus.
There's a joke Family Guy did. This is one of the only Family Guy episodes I know, where Stewie made these two virtual worlds, and because he tried to prove to Brian that he wouldn't be Peter's friend if he wasn't his dog. And that whole thing plays out. And then we find out he also did the same thing to the girls, and they never even started talking. They just immediately started fighting one another. It's just, it feels like that. And it's like Family Guy did this joke.
That's funny. Yeah, it is kind of interesting to kind of take a look at. But we definitely do have a I think that like the main thing of interest that happens during this particular chapter is the fact that we have a murder mystery now.
Butler did it.
Yeah, because they captured a black sister in the last book, and that comes into play here, where this particular Aes Sedai and the Aes Sedai who was interrogating her, both get murdered in really grisly fashion.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons that we don't fully understand, other than it's probably as punishment for getting caught.
Well, lest we forget, all the way back in book 4, those two black sisters that got caught had their tongues ripped out by Slayer.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Slayer who did that?
I think you accidentally revealed the spoiler for book 9.
Yeah.
Well, they got ripped out by someone.
Yeah.
What's done is done. Because I think I know who Slayer is, because I just got to that part again in Rise of Shadow where parents fighting Slayer. Yeah, where parents fighting Slayer for the first time. Chased him all the way to that tower.
You think he's one of the Eilfin? Or at least like he's related to them?
Didn't we find out that he's like Rand's uncle or something like that, or were we just speculating?
We were just speculating.
That's Luke.
Well,
that's a different guy. That's Lord Luke.
Yeah, Lord Luke. he is said to look like Rand, and it did say Luke met Esam in the Mountains of Shadow. One did live and one did die, but both are.
I was gonna say that I think Slayer might be a golem.
Golem?
A golem, yeah. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be very interesting indeed.
It would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's
an ominous way of answering that.
It could also be that.
All right, I said I keep your secrets.
One thing about Slayer that seems interesting is that he seems to be able to enter Tel'aran'rhiod at will, but there's also the fact that he is able to. He seems like he's two people almost. Where when Slayer got hurt in the Wolf Dream, Luke got out and ran off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real suspicious.
Yeah, so obviously Luke and Slayer are connected. Obviously Luke's a dark friend, at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I might be off with my golem thing. Probably not.
Well, that is one thing to consider is can golems dream?
Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anything in Tel'aran'rhiod yet, except for humans and wolves, right?
And other animals, but that's it.
Yeah. Have we even seen other animals?
Yeah, there's been other animals.
What about
Besides the ones that like people?
Ogier? Have we ever heard any evidence that Ogier can go into the realm of dreams?
Can Ogier channel? That's another question I've been wanting to ask.
Yeah, it seems as though the Ogier have their tree song, and that's their power. And basically they are protected from having their dreams infiltrated by virtue of the fact that they are Ogier. I don't think that there's much evidence for Slayer being a golem. Golem are basically are supposed to be like unnoticeable, and
the only reason I brought it up is because Tam and Abel, Matt's dad, they brought up the fact that a bunch of animals have been just being killed all over the place, and it's like that. I think that was the raven, but then they bring up the fact that a bear was one of them. It's like ravens wouldn't do that. It's just like that would take a lot of ravens to do that.
Yeah. So that actually fits into something that Slayer was doing in the Wolf Dream.
Yeah, it does. And it's like we found out that the golem basically have to drink blood to do. So it's like they keep living, and it's like I don't know, vampires killing animals because they don't want to get caught by the humans just yet. I don't know. It was just like another random idea to throw in there, really.
It is interesting, but I kind of think, one of the things that to note about it is that specifically Abel says they were just left for the wolves. Nothing happened. Like nothing was happening to the corpses. They were just dead.
Yeah.
So, which
it wasn't Trollocs killing them because the Trollocs would eat them.
And they would have noticed if there was no blood. They would have remarked if there was like the blood had been taken.
Oh yeah. So, okay. Well, that theory can go away then.
Oh no worries. It was an interesting theory. I'm just like I feel comfortable in kind of saying like not quite there, but it's interesting though. We do know some interesting things about him though. We do know that it seems as though Slayer and Luke are kind of are seemingly joined somehow, and that Slayer looks like Lan's brother or cousin, and we know that Lan had a cousin named Esam who disappeared, and then apparently
Rand's biological father disappeared into the blight as well.
Yes, but he was specifically that he was killed by a man who looked like Shail. So that could mean that Lord Luke killed Rand's dad, so that's also a possibility.
We'll see where it goes.
But after that, Elaine finally gets to Camelin, and she can assert her claim to the Lion Throne. And then the book ends there.
Yep.
Or at least or at least the book, Elaine's story in this book ends. So,
also, real quick, one of the sisters who was murdered was the one trying to write the history of everything ever in the second book that Moraine went to get some information from.
Mm-hmm. Good old Adelius. And her sister Vandine is really broken up about it. Poor lady.
Poor lady.
Yeah. And after that, we get to Perion, who doesn't really have much of a story in this book, other than he finally meets with Mr. Cray Cray. And
Mr. Cray Cray is understating that so much.
Okay, Mr. Raving Lunatic.
Closer.
I like the lengths he goes to make everyone else a villain except for Rand. No one can channel but Rand because Rand is literally the incarnation of the light. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
not just the creator, but the light.
He is God himself made flesh.
The last time we saw him, he was going all crazy on Nynaeve, calling her like a prophet and stuff. Like she would be like a saint in his eyes. And so, but now apparently that's started to change too. It's like, no, it's just Rand. Everybody else is losers.
Yeah.
Well, and because he specifically thinks Perrin is some sort of dark friend because of his eyes.
Yeah.
And also because he is doing his job and hanging people who are murdering folks.
Oh yeah, every good religious story needs a betrayer.
Yeah. And also, like,
I don't know. I think someone's putting stuff in his head.
Yeah, that's probably true, because like he's just gone so nuts. He's gone super nuts.
Well, he was crazy when in the second book too. So
some of that stuff is a bit of a stretch to come up with on your own. So
it could be that somebody's invading his dreams and making him think all of this.
Yeah, well, the Forsaken have many plots.
Yeah, and then we get into like Perrin meets with the Queen of Gildan, and apparently just by being a bold, straight talker, she thinks that he's really good at the game of houses.
It's like, God damn it, not this again.
I know. First, Rand is a genius because he doesn't accept anyone's party invitations.
And
I remember reading some kind of summary where it said it was Rand in Kyrian. He says, "I don't want to play your stupid game of houses," and everyone else says, "Ooh, he's good."
He's good. Oh my God.
You must be embroiled in some deep part of the game to deny I'm playing it completely.
Yeah. So I'm getting a very similar thing with Perrin and Queen Aleandra. Hey, Queen, you should probably do this very obvious thing. God.
My God.
Genius.
It's genius.
Yeah.
And even Berylang's like, this woman is stupid.
Yeah. Also, she swears fealty to him, and grants all her lands and titles. So he's basically king of Gildan now.
He went from Lord of the Two Rivers to King in Gildan.
Yeah.
From blacksmith to king.
I don't know.
The
Maybe
story of Perrin
Gildan is now a province of the Two Rivers.
Yeah.
I wonder how Elaine's going to take this, backwater, hamlet in her kingdom that she hasn't even really thought about, except maybe, I don't know, her boyfriend lives there. And now they're kind of turning into an empire.
You gotta love those stories of, oops, I accidentally started a kingdom.
And, yeah, I think it might be. I think that somebody might be sending. Somebody might send tax collectors to say, "Hey, Two Rivers, can we get some money out of you?" And they're probably going to get thrown off on their ass.
That reminds me of another thing because of the Merchant and Tyr going crazy over Two Rivers to Bach.
Yeah, it's definitely. It is it's a luxury product. And the Borderlands and the far north and the far south. Because it is really hard to come by.
This little backwater place nobody ever thinks about. They probably don't even realize it's a place. They probably think it's a brand.
Yeah, probably. That's actually not unlikely, to be perfectly honest. And through some wild coincidence, Perrin runs into Morghese Tricand and her little party. And
it's just Perrin just oops into everything he needs.
Well, honestly, in this case, it actually gets. I actually think it makes things. Well, I don't know how much he needs Morghese, really.
It's more Morghese needs him.
Yeah. We do get at the end where, pretty much the major events that happen with Perrin's arc are the Shido Aiel are roaming around Gildan, and Sivana is trying to get them to raid more. And there's this group of brotherless Aiel that are basically used to be on Rand's side, but have decided no, he's not the Karkarn. We don't believe in him. And she tries to get some brownie points by saying, "Oh, we'll rule in favor of you." But then, unfortunately, the turning point happens where she decides to use the Oath Rod on Galena Kazban and make her swear to obey her. And also one of the other wise ones, Tharava, who seems like she's scary. Really scary.
Yeah.
She at least makes Galena Kazban, who is a black sister and has done terrible things, really scared.
I think she might be a black friend, dark friend.
I actually don't think she is. I think that she might be just human evil without being a dark friend.
Yeah.
Because if she were a dark friend, she probably would have she probably would have figured out a way to get Galena out, maybe. But I think that she's just human evil. Kind of like Sivana's just a just a power mad crazy lady. But the major events are Perrin starts hanging Dragonsworn who are basically murdering and reaving all over the countryside, and even taking trophies, cutting off people's ears after they've died and hanging them on a necklace.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and it's kind of clear that this revolution has basically gone nuts, and it's basically just they are just bandits at this point. They're just, and Masima is totally okay with this, and that freaks Perrin out a lot, and it freaks the Aes Sedai and the Wise Ones out, who are saying you should kill the man and Masima Dagar, and Perrin's like, why? Why? Rand told me to do it, and they're like, it is enough that 3 Wise Ones have told you to do it.
Literally everyone wants him to kill a bear.
Three wise ones told you to jump off a bridge. Actually, wait, no, you probably would.
They would probably throw you off the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
But I do think the Aes Sedai, I can't remember her name. There's so many Aes Sedai at this point. She tells Perrin, do you really want the Dragon Reborn to embrace this man as a friend? Because they assume that he is probably going to embrace Massima. Do you think that's possible, or do you think that Rand is going to execute him and make him a public example?
I'm hoping for the latter, at the very least.
Wait, Massima hasn't even seen Rand since, what, like the beginning of the Dragon Reborn?
Yeah.
So he has no idea what's been going on in his known name.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Let me see.
Yeah. I think he's just saying, like bring the Gildan in and also pacify the Prophet, since it's chaos down in that. It's chaos down in that part of the world.
I don't know. If he even shows up to Massima, would Massima even believe it's him? Would he just say, oh, this is a false vision? I know what the real dragon wants.
I'm very willing to bet that Massima probably will think Rand is legit until it starts contradicting everything he thinks, and he's gonna go, "You're a false dragon. You're not Rand al'Thor. Where's Rand al'Thor?
He's in your head. You're worshiping a shadow.
You're the shadow. You're clearly a forsaken plot.
Yeah.
You know truth. Sayer, I deny your truth-saying abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Spank. That truth-sayer comment is so funny to me, only by virtue of the fact that I know what's going to happen in the next book.
Speaking of what's going to happen in the next book, Fail got took by the Shido.
Yeah. And
so that is a thing now.
And Barrelane's the only one who got away. That's gotta sting.
Yeah. I think, I don't know whether it's this book or the next book. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, but Fail just thinks that sneaking she-goat. Which is so funny to me. It's so funny. But the weirdest, with this one, we get so how long, Carl, how do you feel about me telling how long this subplot is going to last?
Well, you've already told me. I don't want to point that out.
You may as well.
Yeah, this subplot is going to last for the next 3 books.
Abandon all
Oh, good.
Here.
Just like Matt.
Yeah. Pretty much this plot is going to last until the Sanderson books. And it's I think that this is one of the primary reasons why this is referred to as the slog, because this plot is really stretched out. And
I'm honestly more interested in what's going to happen to I think her name is Bane and Chiad.
Mm-hmm.
The two Aiel friends Varen made, because they're Guy Shine now.
Yeah, they're Guy Shine, yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be very interesting, because they actually are agree to the rules of Jiito, whereas Fail does not.
Fail makes a comment. It's like, great, the only 2 people that could actually help me won't.
But that kind of this is going to last for a while, and same with Elaine's plot. Pretty much this whole thing is going to last for a long, long time. And basically, like, all of the subplots that are set up at the end of this book are going to be stretched out over the next 3 books. And that's just going to be how it is for the next little bit.
And the last thing that really happens with Perion is that our boy is back. Haven't seen him since the first book.
Yeah, Elias Machira shows up and gives Perion dating marriage advice.
How is he even qualified to give that? Hasn't he been living off in the wilderness for his entire life?
Yeah, but he dated a Shanarn girl once.
Well, Soldayan. Well, he used to be a warder, and then he ran off 10 years ago. And, like...
Mountain Man.
Yeah, and we actually see him in a brief cameo in New Spring in the White Tower.
Mm-hmm, we sure do.
Yeah. But yeah, he says, you need to yell at her. And Perion's like, no! He's like, she's a leopard, and she wants to know her husband's a leopard, so you got to shout at her. He's like,
that is terrible advice in the real world, by the way. Do not yell at your wife.
Don't
so confused by this entire exchange. I was like, she wants him to what now?
She wants him to what? She would like him to yell at her? What?
And looking back at the older books, every time Vail actually does what Perion kind of wants is when he's being rough with her.
Which at least her character makes sense now, because previously I was just like, why is this the most irrational character on the face of the planet? I don't understand what she's mad at 90% of the time. I was with Perion 100%. Like, dude, your wife is crazy.
Well, we already kind of think, I think kind of like this proves more that she's crazy, or at least like her society's nuts.
But at least there's a rule for her personality now that I can follow and understand.
Well, they do live next to they live next to the Blight. I do want to point that out.
Yeah.
So I guess they gotta have tough men in order to handle something like that.
Well, and because I got, like, when her mom was talking about it, that made sense to me. You know, when she was talking about, like, needing a man to be strong so that a woman doesn't have to be less than she is. You know, like, okay, that's an interesting concept. I can see where you're going with that. But yeah, Fail's just...
She wants to be dominated.
She seems to equate strength, right, to roughness, which is strange, but at least, like I said, at least now I can understand, I don't know, it, like I said, her character doesn't seem as random anymore as to what's going to set her off.
Some context has now been given.
Right.
Mael is a sub.
Yeah, we have context, whether that context is
sensible or not, you know.
That's up for debate, yeah. But that kind of concludes Perion's arc, and now we're kind of just like, he sets up a lot of plots at the end of this book. The problem is these plots are going to stretch for a while, and a lot of people really, really find that annoying. Because, like, I think my mom, like, please resolve this plot. Why are you taking so long? But yeah, the Perion rescuing Fail is going to be the major subplot for his arc for the next 3 books. So after that, I think we get into the best section of the book, which is Rand and the Shanshan, which surprisingly is only like 13% of this book.
This felt like it should have been the climax of the book. come right out and say that. This happens in the middle of the book, and it feels like this is where it should have ended.
Mm-hmm. But it kind of keeps going for a little bit after the climax.
Yeah, it kind of has two climaxes. It has one really big one in the middle, and then it kind of just stops.
Mm-hmm. We definitely do
Well,
have.
you know, this is what happens when you got all these side plots and they don't all converge neatly in one big conclusion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have, this is too big to just, put all these things into one big book. You have to chop it up to a couple little books. And, where do you draw those arbitrary book boundaries?
Yeah.
Some stories are gonna get caught in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Others are gonna wrap up too early.
Yeah.
No, this is just something you have to deal with in these big series.
All right. As we continue on with this one, Carl, I have to ask you, which one sounds better, Shan Chan Nam or Via Shan Chan?
Nah, Vietnam War was a completely different beast. This would have been this was like a First World War.
I mean, the whole thing ends in a jungle with them raining fire from the sky.
Let me see. So wait, the Shan-Chan are the invaders coming from across the sea. So that means Rand and his guys are the Viet Cong.
It mixes a little bit sometimes.
Interesting. And of course, apparently the Shan-Chan all have Texan accents.
Oh, really? That's
Apparently, this
so
is
random.
Yeah, no, really. They actually use like Texan accents, supposedly.
Yep, with samurai armor. Yep. They're crossing all. But
I say that because
I pick one, probably a Viet Shan Chan, just because it goes nice into nice three little nice syllables.
yes, yeah, because I said that when I was listening to the book, and then somebody drove by in their car playing "Fortunate Son" right after this whole chapter ended, and just now that thought won't leave my head.
That's amazing. I love it. But I do think that we have I think that like with this one we see a very good example of warfare. We actually it's interesting that you mentioned the Vietnam, because Robert Jordan actually fought in Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you can kind of see a lot of like that in his approach to combat. And I think that this book kind of represents Rand's first failure, because he goes on this campaign against the Shan-Chan, and he wins initially. He's the king of Ilion, he's pacifies this group of rebels, and then he goes in with a bunch of Ashaman and a small army, kind of utilizing hit-and-run tactics, utilizing gateways. But then the Shan-Chan begin learning and adapting, partially because they find out from Suroth that they're using gateways.
Yeah.
And we know that Suroth is a dark friend. So do you think that someone on Rand's side told her? Or do you think there's something else that's fishy going on?
Mm.
Because we know by the end that our friend Corlin Deshiva and a few of the other Ashaman are at least like not aligned with Rand, and possibly even dark friends.
Yeah, I'm still heavy in the camp that what's his name? The commander that Rand put in charge, the other false dragon. Taim, that's his name. I think he's at least a dark friend, possibly one of the Forsaken in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That was indeed a common theory. The common theory around I think it was Lord of Chaos, was that Taim was Demon Dread in disguise.
Yeah, that was.
And going back, re-listening to the books, when he was captured, he kind of like escaped under weird, mysterious means. So I'm thinking that maybe he wasn't always, but this may not be the real one, and the real time was killed and replaced. Maybe even like something like that, because the plots the Dark One lays are never simple.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
And we do have the fight. And I think that the fight, the action in this is actually extremely well done.
It was so good compared to a bunch of... Oops. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's much better done than in the previous books.
Yeah. This is definitely like an actual war. Like we do have the Battle of Perion, but this is the moment where like, well, partially this is the moment where Rand finally like gets his taste of like actual abject failure. And
because Rand done nothing but win the entire time.
Yeah. And now it's kind of like, Rand, you shouldn't have pulled out Kalendor, it turns out.
And also probably shouldn't have named the Dark One.
Or pushed as far as he did. So, I mean, that was the thing. Like, he was just like at the beginning of this, right? When he first starts hearing the little voice in his head again, he's like, "What are you talking about? I've never done anything out of pride in my life ever."
He said pride.
That's the most.
Have you met yourself?
Have you met yourself, Rand? You do everything because you're a prideful dick.
You should have listened to your men when they were saying the source feels weird here. Something's wrong.
Or at the very least, told them to all leave before you go nuts.
I mean, the only reason the Shan-Chan don't completely crush them at the end is because they are also having to deal with these effects, and they have even less of an idea of why it's happening.
And they also get severely, like, he does severe damage to both sides and in this battle after, like he says, nobody stands toe to toe with the Dragon Reborn, and then he says, let's see how this guy reacts to seeing Kalendor in the hands of the Dragon Reborn.
You know, it's a good idea. It probably would have worked if, you know, whatever was going on didn't affect the power itself.
And also there's the fact that Kalendor has a flaw that we find out later.
This totally doesn't feel like a retcon.
Well, I don't know if it necessarily is, because Rand acts really irrational when nearly every time that he carries Kalendor. Because
yeah, that's true. He tries to bring a little girl back to the dead. And that moment when you're reading through it both the first time and the second time, you're kind of thinking like, oh, he's just being hard on himself because he didn't think to use Kalendor before.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think back again, it's like when he's making that thundercloud, he's thinking, I can just wipe everything off the face of the planet right now. So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that it kind of is a retcon, partially, but I think it's a retcon that makes sense. That's kind of like a new reveal rather than like something that contradicts something previous. There are definitely retcons, like how Stilling works is definitely retconned between Dragon Reborn and Shadow Rising, where the Aes Sedai, one of the Aes Sedai, like, who is stilled, like, is able to continue as Keeper for some reason in Egwene's vision. But then in Shadow Rising, it's shown that, like, you can't even, it's like the ability to channel never existed.
Yeah.
So, interesting little retcons here and there. But we won't. It's fine. But at the end, Rand is he pushes them out of Ilion, but then a combination of factors, including goading from his advisors, one of which we know is a dark friend, and that would be Gedwin, one of the Yashamen, who turned cloak at the end, and Wireman, who seems strangely chummy with Gedwin during the battle.
We're best friends.
Yeah. So what do you think that means, that Wireman like is talking to Gedwin relatively calmly? Like, not like he's like, I don't care who you serve, and then the Kyrianan Lord comes up and he's like really clumsily tries to get away from the conversation.
I think it means he's like a higher level dark friend. Because it's been proven multiple times over, the Dark One doesn't really care about your standing in society. A beggar can be over you if he so chooses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking at the wiki now. Charles Gedwin does have a title. He is the Thoravon Mahale,
Or
the storm leader.
And
So he's a pretty big mover and shaker within the Black Tower structure now.
Yeah, because Taim is making his own titles and giving them out to the soldiers.
Yeah, he's lifting a bunch of Nazi titles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the Black Tower, it gives off, it's just the black coats on their own, kind of like give off that feel of Nazi officer.
A little
Not
bit.
sure if that's. I'm not sure if that was what they were going for.
You talk.
I'm not sure if that's what he was going for, Robert Jordan, when he made it. It's just how the artwork I've seen kind of like portrays it.
Well, Mahale does literally mean leader.
Yeah.
Or
Kind
in
of
German, Führer.
Like,
I mean, like I've noticed him use a whole bunch of different like older Middle Eastern titles and stuff and other things. Like Asmodean is a name I've noticed one of the Forsaken has, and that just literally means devil. So,
yeah. Just the dreaded name of the devil himself. To quote Redwall, which most people in this chat have never watched.
I haven't gotten to sit down and rewatch that cartoon because I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
Oh, you rewatched it? I'm like, you've seen it? Oh my goodness, dang.
That used to come on right before Saturday morning cartoons for some weird reasons. Sometimes I get up early enough and I would see it.
Yeah, the whole thing's on YouTube.
Oh well, I'll sit down and watch it when I have a free moment.
Well, apparently, I looked this up. Apparently, Asmodean is the old tongue for musician. Like what they call it. There was a great comic from the of this from someone on DeviantArt, where the Dark One is going over all the titles. He says, "I have summoned all of you here before me, daughter of the night, the betrayer of hope, and hang on, let me." The sounds of shuffling through his notes, and yes, the musician.
Not even like the musician of death or the musician of battle and chaos. No, just musician.
Yeah. It really shows how this guy's bottom tier on the villain list.
I think that's actually the joke, is that he was the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Probably not unfounded.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the only one I can think of is worse is the guy who got treed to death.
Balthamol? Yeah. Though it seems as though Balthamol has been put into a lady's body, since he was, and possibly Moradin. Do you think that where do you think Osangar is, the other transmigrated guy? Where do you think he is? Since he seems not to have popped up, though. We are drawn to Corlan de Shiva being a guy with a spectacularly ordinary face, and he sucks at riding. He sucks with a sword.
He just sucks in general.
He kind of does, but it's strange that he grew up on a farm, but he can't ride a horse.
Yeah.
It's pretty sus.
Sus.
It's very
Gotta
sus.
vote him out. Just vote him out.
Vote him out. Get him out quick. Kill him.
Kill him. No, I was in bed doing tasks.
Yeah. But we do have Catswain and Rand like confronting each other again. And it goes really badly for Rand.
It goes very bad.
Like she says, I want you to be like, oh, you want rules? Oh, young boys really want rules. They just claim that they don't. He's like,
We also learned that Catswain has one of those anti-channeling charms.
Yeah.
She's a regular Inspector Gadget, she is.
Yeah.
I'm mixed on Catswain because I like the idea of like this old wizard who's got all the tricks and stuff up her sleeves. But she's such a bitch.
I like her. She's old enough. She's earned the right to be a bitch at this point. I mean, come on.
She's old enough to not give a fuck.
Yeah, and also she's probably like really frustrated having to deal with a farmer from the Two Rivers who has become a king.
Her motivation is that she is bored. She's bored of being old. That's how old she is.
Yeah. Which is kind of just like wow. Yeah.
She showed up during the Aiel War with 4 warders that just came out of nowhere and started fighting.
Yeah. And then she went right back to the Roses so that before anybody could elect her the Amerlin seat or put her on the tower.
Yep. And then she came back to hunt false dragons because she got bored with the Roses again.
Which seems as though like
we have got to stop getting off on tangents.
yeah.
Yeah, Crow and I have to leave pretty soon, so.
Yeah, true. And we've pretty much concluded. The main thing that happens at the end that concludes this book is the fight with the Ashaman, a group of Ashaman who have been Taim's cronies, turn on Rand and try to kill him. And Rand manages to get out just barely in time. But then he has one of his Ashaman Fedwin Moore goes mad and basically becomes a simpleton.
I was so sad. He was still trying to protect her. He was just building a wall out of blocks. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
That was like, I like that about Matt. He's just not raving lunatic. He just has the mind of a little child, which is that's honestly way more terrifying because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to help, but he's taking everything down around him to do it. It's like we're gonna put the pretty princess in a beautiful tower because that's where princesses go. So let's take this block out of this wall, and we're gonna start building her around her. It's just like no. No, play with the little box. Play with the little wooden blocks. Okay.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's just
then
really
he has to poison him because he's so dangerous to himself and everyone around him. It's just,
yeah. And for some reason, Taim knows all of the names of the. He just says, "Oh, all of these guys deserted."
Yeah, that's real suspicious.
super sus.
Real suspicious.
Yep, that's very sus. Mr. Taib, how do you know this? There were only 3 that left. There were only a couple that ran off. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone expected Taim to stay loyal to Rand through this entire book series.
No, I think everybody.
Whether he's a dark friend or not, yeah.
Yeah.
The moment I showed up, it's like, you're going to be a problem, aren't you?
Yeah, especially since like he seems like he's doing things his own way and is trying to deliberately circumvent Rand as much as possible.
I think it's going to come down to a fight between Taim and Logain.
Hmm.
Because they're both false
Control of
dragons.
Black Tower. Yes.
Yeah, they're both false dragons. They're both incredibly powerful. But Logain obviously is going to be, at least it seems like he's way more loyal to Rand, even though we haven't seen them both together.
Yeah.
And we did have the vision from Min that Logain's going to attain a great deal of glory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I do think Logain might end up taking the tower from Taim. I don't know if he'll be any more loyal or not. That, like you said, we really haven't seen them interact enough to have any idea of that, I don't think. But
the only interaction the two have is that Logain's seen him off from a distance and was able to tell that's the real Dragon Reborn right there.
Right.
And that's what made him laugh. It's like, it was never the real dragon. Yeah, darn. And he's had like 2 years to think about this. Unlike Taim, who's, I think, only had like one. If this, like I said, this may not be the real Taim.
Mm-hmm. He's very sus. He could just be a plant. He could be Tamadred too.
He could be compelled. He could be one of the Forsaken in disguise. He could legitimately have always been a Dark Friend because he didn't show up until after Rand declared himself the dragon.
Mm-hmm. That is possible. So now we can kind of get into, like, for the last little bit, we can get into questions, predictions, and hopes. What are your guys' like thoughts for what's going to happen in Wintersard? I've told you a little bit of the fact that, like, Perrin's going to be stuck in this plot for a little bit. Elaine is going to be fighting for the throne for another couple of books. Any other thoughts of what, like, could happen in this upcoming book? What do you think is going to happen?
I started the next one, so I don't really want to make short-term predictions.
Mm-hmm.
I already know.
I was going to start it after this one because I've been reading the old series in preparation for this. So I guess I'll make. Oh, I've obviously said I think Logain and Taim are going to have a fight. Probably not in this book. Maybe the next one or the one after. Because from what I understand, what everybody said, everything slows down.
Yes.
I think Perrin may find out who Morghese is, or at least some of her party. Because I just can't see that staying secret very long.
It does seem as though it's going to be more difficult because our good friend, what's it? The
White Cloak's spy master.
Yeah, spy master's there, but also Morghese is now gone. She ain't there anymore.
Yeah, she was captured, wasn't she?
Yep, she was captured by the Shido.
Shido, yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting. I'm hoping Matt shows up in this book.
That would be a hope. Yeah.
Loyal in one of the Ashaman took off somewhere else to go look at Waygates, I think. So I'm hoping that we get a Loyal chapter or two. That'd be nice.
Yeah, me too. I miss Loyal.
Yeah. Yeah, Loyal is cute.
Loyal is best boy.
Loyal is too sweet, needs protection.
Yeah. Loyal's really cool.
I think eventually Rand and Elaine are going to talk at some point, hopefully.
Yeah. We do know that Rand is currently going to try and hunt down the Black Tower traders, which could be a mistake, which could be bad, could be good, really depends. But
let's see. I'm trying to think about how many of the Forsaken are left as well.
So currently we have Osangar and Arangar, Moradin. We also have the introduction of someone new. We have a character named Sindane, who seems to be extraordinarily powerful. And she's also aligned with Moradin for some reason.
It just like the whole time in these books, I've been tracking down like the death of the Forsaken and stuff. It's like, okay, so we're down this number, this number, this number. These ones got hit by balefire, so they're never coming back. It's just like, like I said, these minions are so powerful. You can't just throw them away. So the Dark One's going to use them however he can. Because like almost nobody else compares in power. I also did make the mention of like the I can't think of their names, the fox and snake people behind the Terangrial doors.
The Aelfin and the Aelfin.
Yeah. Going back rereading, I missed this the first time through. Brigida talks to Perion in the Wolf Dream about the children's game Snakes and Foxes and Snakes.
Snakes and Foxes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the game that cannot be won
unless you cheat. And there's the little nursery rhyme you say at the beginning of it about iron and light and instruments of music. We also have a vision from, I believe, Egwene of Tom Maryland pulling Moraine's gemstone out of a fire, I believe.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be important for him because we've all thought maybe Moraine's not dead. She survived somehow, and Tom's got to save her. And who would be better to save Moraine from these creatures that don't like light and music and things of iron than the guy who throws knives, eats fire, and plays music?
A very interesting possibility. Yeah. We do know that Tom Maryland got a letter from Moraine that Matt delivered to him.
Yeah. And we were led to believe that it was the name of the sisters who killed Owen, his nephew. But that doesn't mean that he was telling the truth.
But yeah, no, I agree. She's definitely, to me, as soon as they gave us the information that the warder bond breaks when you're stilled as well, I was like, okay, then I no longer, she doesn't have to be dead then. She could just be stilled.
Like we said, even if we see a corpse, that doesn't mean the character's done with. It has to be balefire.
Yeah. Good set of predictions. Yeah. I'm interested to see your thoughts on this upcoming book and the next one. We're kind of, if it feels slow, don't worry. I think almost Sanderson's pace is going to make you feel like it's like breakneck by comparison.
He wraps it up quick.
Yeah, because I think like he just says originally it was supposed to be one book, but then Sanderson realized there's enough material for 3 books. We can't do this in one. It would be huge. It would be unprintable. So it ended up being, the last book ended up being 3 books, but a lot happens in those 3 books.
Is it kind of like a situation where it's like one of those books is 3 of the Robert Jordan books?
Yeah. Yeah, one of those books. Yeah, I think it would have been like, I think Words of Radiance nearly broke like the limit of like what you're allowed to publish physically, like page count. That's another of Brandon Sanderson's books. It's one of my favorites of his, but yeah, I think that we will conclude that there. Thank you to Dr. Crow and Blue for coming on. This has been good. We got a good amount of discussion out of this book, and hopefully you guys enjoy D&D. Thank you for coming.
Yep, if you like fantasy, come over to my channel because we are going to be playing some D&D.
All right, and we will call it good for today. Thank you all. Bye.
See ya.